if we're not telling people, it's one thing to have character. I have a leadership assessment tool that I use with my clients. And one of the biggest things that, most upsetting things I ever hear, or most upset I hear my clients getting, is when they've taken the assessment and they come back and their assessment is, or the assessment tool says they have very low character, leadership character. And I can tell them that while they're taking, before they take the assessment, before I give them the results, and even after I give them the results, I say, this is an assessment of how you are using these attributes in your leadership style. This is not an assessment of whether you have any of these attributes. But when I tell people they're not showing up with leadership character, they still get pissed. They still feel like it's a personal attack on them. And what I tell them is, it's one thing to have a good inventory of what you believe and who you are and what you're good at, what you're not good at, and all the things that go into your character. It's something altogether different to tell people, this is what I believe and this is why I believe it. There are certain topics you're not allowed to talk about, right? You're not allowed to talk about religion or politics or sex. You can't talk about sex, period. But the other two, I would argue, you have to be able to talk about. If you're going to have an intimate relationship with people in a work setting where you are their leader and they are going to trust you, they need to know why you are doing things you're doing. And two of the biggest influences in our lives are our politics and our religion. They're a manifestation of our beliefs. And if you can't talk about them, you're limiting yourself. Now there's a big caveat here. You can't do it for the sake of telling somebody how great you are and how great your religion is or how great your politics are. It's not
or how they should think.
Or how they should think. It isn't about that at all. It is about curiosity and a genuine interest in letting them know who you are and why you are doing the things you're doing. It's about making yourself vulnerable to them so that if they say, Doug, you're full of crap, that's okay. I've opened myself up for the sake of letting people know why I do what I do. And I was talking to the other class about a friend of mine at Capital One was the protege of, I can't remember his first name, Schwartz.
Mark Schwartz.
Mark Schwartz. He was the CFO for Tyco, yeah. He was the protege of Mark Schwartz with Tyco, the CFO, and Schwartz went to jail. And the reason he went to jail was a lot of people working for him did a lot of things that were illegal. He never did anything illegal himself, other than be in charge of an organization that did. And he, through tacit approval, by never telling people not to do it, he endorsed and approved what they were doing. And this friend of mine, this colleague of mine, says, this guy was as straight a shooter as it came. He was very ethical, good moral compass, good, believed a lot of the same things he did, but he never talked about it publicly. The only reason my friend knew about it was because he was his protege. They would be on a business trip together, they'd have drinks, and they would be talking about what he would start exposing himself to, not literally, but exposing who he was to my friend. And yet, sorry, yeah. Had he done that, had he shared with the organization, his broader organization, the same thing he shared with my colleague, would the scandal have occurred? Maybe. I don't know. But I would bet he would have known that the things were happening sooner. Somebody would have raised their hand and said, hey, Mark, this is going on. Did you know that? And maybe he would have stopped. Maybe not. I don't know. But I can tell you one thing for sure, is that his absence, the absence of revealing his values, got him in a lot of trouble. So, being ourselves, knowing who we are, means telling people that. And then it comes to the third part, the third ingredient of that self-awareness, and that's integrity. And I love the fact that there are three distinct definitions for integrity in the Merriam-Webster's dictionary. There's the soundness of moral character and the honesty. Those two are the ones we focus most on, right? When you talk about integrity, it's being honest, being a good person, right? Doing the things you say. The last one, I think, has some of the most relevance to leadership. The state of being whole. Because if you remember, the last screen, we said, let's page up. You know, authenticity means we're all these things. And if we're going to integrate all of that into the wholeness of being Doug, or Nathaniel, or Brian, or Steve, when we are integrating all those different roles we play in life, that's integrity. It's not just being honest. You know, when you're telling, integrity is beyond just telling the truth. It's seeking the truth and reconciling all the truths in our lives. Because there were times where I felt compelled to tell people working for me about things that were going on. I felt the need because I thought it was the honest thing to do. But I also had a respect for the law, and as a corporate officer, I had a responsibility to keep certain things confidential. That's a tough situation. And you're going to all face those kind of situations to a greater or lesser degree in your lives. And integrating all that so that you are making the right decisions. And, you know, most whistleblowers have had a crisis of conscience where they felt this conflicting sets of priorities coming together, and finally they said, okay, I know I'm legally bound or I'm ethically bound to keep silent on this, but I think my higher sense of being true to myself is being called into question, and I have to do something about it. That's integrity. That's where you bring all of those pieces together in a way that keeps us together. And you know, this is a kind of a fun clip here. It is not going to work again. It's not. I don't know why, but who cares? This is if it was planned, you'd see a really cool scene where this bridge was constructed back in the 40s, and it was built to withstand normal wind shears, but on this one particular day, they experienced a different wind pattern, very intense. It caused it to start gyrating and undulating, and next thing you know, the bridge collapsed. Not from anything, no gale force winds. It wasn't like a hurricane hit or a tornado hit. It was just normal high gust winds caused the integrity of that structure to fail. And the same thing happens if we find ourselves in situations where unanticipated pressures come upon us. We're doing things that ourselves, our different roles are coming in conflict with each other, and we're not being honest with ourselves and really seeking that wholeness. We're going to find ourselves collapsing and doing things that we wouldn't normally do.